Born on January 29, 1954, in Kosciusko, Mississippi, Oprah Gail Winfrey faced a challenging childhood marked by poverty and adversity. Raised by her grandmother in rural Mississippi, Oprah's early years were defined by hardship, including years of living in poverty and enduring sexual abuse. Despite these challenges, Oprah found solace in education and discovered her passion for media at an early age. While attending Tennessee State University, she began her broadcasting career at a local radio station, foreshadowing the groundbreaking career that awaited her. Oprah Winfrey is an extraordinary woman, holding many titles, including host, producer, philanthropist, author, and entrepreneur. Winfrey has a brilliant professional life and a colorful private life that she likes to keep private. Winfrey's partner is Stedman Graham. The couple shares a lasting love and commitment, choosing a life together without the formality of marriage. Their partnership includes mutual respect and a common journey through life. The host has never paid much attention to Valentine's Day. During her time competing in the Miss Black America pageant, Winfrey received nothing from her then-boyfriend, Bubba, while the other contestants received flowers and gifts from their partners. Feeling disappointed that she received nothing, Winfrey expressed her disappointment to a fellow contestant, who wisely replied, "Girl, if your man had put a flower in mind, you won't need flowers in a vase." More than a decade later, in 1986, Winfrey began to notice a certain man in town. However, because he was often seen with a girlfriend, she initially did not pay much attention to him. The producer and this man finally met when they both visited a sick friend who later died of AIDS. Graham arrived at the house alone and so did Winfrey. Winfrey and Graham left together, and she asked him if he wanted a beer. He replied that he did not drink alcohol and to date, he had not had a sip of alcohol. The 69-year-old found Graham to be a good person, but she was not impressed with him. "He's polite, yes, and kind. The kind of guy who sits with a sick friend. Tall and handsome, certainly. But I think he's actually too handsome to be interested in me," she said. Explain. Winfrey confessed that she thought Graham was a playboy, which her producers agreed with and warned her not to get involved with him. The host has been cautious with Graham since then. Even as friends, she was not as free as she wanted. She started thinking seriously about him months later when she learned that he had broken up with his girlfriend and was asking about her dating status. The two eventually got together and stayed together for more than 30 years. Winfrey is enamored with Graham, who she says is very positive. She said that anyone who met him was surprised at how polite he was. "Wishes the best for me and everyone he knows. Really wishes the best for everyone. No cursing," she added. Graham also doesn't gossip or say anything negative about anyone. The producer feels like Graham has earned his name as he is as steady as a mountain. Her partner is also patient, trustworthy, responsible and calm. For years, while the couple dated, tabloids speculated whether the two would get married. Graham finally proposed in 1993 and Winfrey said yes. However, Winfrey later had doubts. She realized she didn't want to get married, she just wanted Graham to ask the question so she knew he felt she was worthy of being his wife. The producer also didn't want the sacrifices, compromises and commitments that came with getting married, because work was her top priority and Graham knew that. Winfrey Partners teaches identity leadership worldwide and is the author of multiple books on the subject. The host said their relationship worked because Graham created an identity other than Oprah's man. Both also share essential values, with integrity at the top of the list. They also love to see each other fulfill their missions and hopes. Graham also loves Winfrey. He said if she ran for President of the United States, she would be a great president because she is trustworthy, smart, has a photographic memory, successful, and works very hard. The author added that their relationship worked because he wanted the best for her and devoted himself to her happiness. Graham also echoed Winfrey, noting that he has been able to find his own happiness, skills, abilities and talents, which he is satisfied with. The two have built careers and lives outside of each other and they love each other deeply and are in a committed relationship. Winfrey and Graham share a love of food. The producer enjoys cooking and baking for Graham, who appreciates and enjoys her meals. The author admitted, "First of all, she's a good cook, I mean among other things, she loves being able to go out and cook whatever she wants. She's quite a natural at it. That's a great thing." Recently, Winfrey said the most romantic thing she did for Graham was prepare hot water tortillas for him. This classic Southern dish includes fried corn tortillas. Most recipes use vegetable shortening, lard and butter in the dough, but the host only uses cornstarch, water and oil to make his dish. Every time Winfrey prepares hot water tortillas for Graham, he loves it and it turns out to be the most romantic thing she's ever done. In return, the most romantic thing Graham did for Winfrey was go to the street corner every Sunday and bring her a copy of the New York Times. Winfrey also revealed that her partner likes to eat octopus for breakfast, a passion she doesn't share. Oprah Winfrey and Stedman Graham showed how strong their love is even though they are not married. The couple keeps the fire burning with mutual respect, shared passions, common values and deep love for each other. They also expressed how having their own lives and
It's undeniable that Anne left quite the impact on England, changing the course of its history and religion. Oh yeah, and giving birth to that useless daughter, Elizabeth I, who would be remembered as one of the greatest leaders England has ever seen. And who else can say that? Mary I is known to most as Bloody Mary, but to many of her contemporaries and to herself, she was known as the most unhappy lady in Christendom. I mean, look at her face. She was born in May of 1516, the only surviving child of King Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. It was really important to Henry to have a male heir. His wife Catherine couldn't give him one, so he divorced her and married Anne Boleyn in 1533. And then, as if things couldn't get any worse, her dad's new wife, Anne, gave birth to Elizabeth, and just like that, Mary became persona non grata in her own home. Anne got Mary's legitimacy revoked by Parliament, stripping her of her claim to the throne. And then stepmama Anne got beheaded. Henry married Jane Seymour, and they had a son, Edward. And Jane was actually kind of a nice stepmother, encouraging Henry to rebuild his relationship with Mary. But Henry wouldn't do it unless Mary admitted that his marriage to her mother was illegal. At first, Mary doesn't want to do it, but then she's like, okay, fine, I agree. The marriage was illegal, and Henry is king of the English church. And they made up, and Henry put her back in his will, making Mary the next successor in line after Edward. Her father died in 1547, and Edward took the throne as intended. But Edward got sick, and then he got sicker, and then he died in 1553 at the age of 15. Edward had put forth an order before he died that made his cousin Lady Jane Grey his successor. But according to Henry's will, Mary was the true successor. And Mary had the support of the people. So she deposed Lady Jane Grey and took her seat as the rightful Queen of England. Far from being a despot, Mary was at first beloved and supported by most of England. She was seen as the rightful heir, and the majority of the English were still practicing Catholicism, or at the very least following similar doctrines. But Mary had her heart set on restoring England to Catholicism, which she pursued through Parliament. But to sustain said restoration, she had to produce a Catholic heir. Now, we have one small problem. She was a single, childless woman of 37, so she hastily arranged to marry the super Catholic King Philip II of Spain. Ultimately, what they settled on was Queen Mary's Marriage Act, passed in April 1554, which basically gave Philip the title of king, but as far as ruling went, it would be Mary. But really, she married him for nothing because she never had any kids. All she got from him were some unwanted wars with France and some bad political advice, like reinstating the heresy laws that allowed a number of Protestants to be executed and 800 to be exiled under her reign. This act came to define